233,000 miles of trek crisscrossing the United States, carrying our food, our new cars, oil to make fuel, lumber to build new homes, coal to make electricity, and many other items that make our lives better. Over those rails are literally millions of cars of all types: boxcars, gondolas, hopper cars, refrigerator cars, and car carriers. It's estimated that there are over 15 million freight cars in the system today, and add to that the tens of thousands of passenger trains, light rail, subway cars, moving people all across our country every single day. Hi, I'm Dave Baring, Technical Director here at TriStar, and welcome to another Tech Talk. Today we're going to talk about Ultracomp and the rail industry. TriStar has for many years now been a key supplier to many of the OEMs and to the aftermarket, selling directly to many of the freight companies and passenger carriers our Ultracomp products, which are used in a variety of applications on the trains. And today we're going to talk about where some of those applications are and why the Ultracomp is the material of choice. Let's first start by talking a little bit about the Ultracomp FR material, our 200 FR material. This is an important material because TriStar is the only supplier that has been approved with a fully certified flame retardant composite bearing material that also meets the very stringent smoke and toxicity regulations that are now required by all transportation industries. Our FR material has been used for several years now by many of the transit companies because it does meet the very specific regulations that are now critical to be sure that all components on board the train meet these new regulations. Our FR material not only is flame retardant and doesn't generate the smoke and toxicity per the regulations, but it also ends up being a much better bearing material than we expected when we first developed it, with higher compressive strengths, better tensile strengths, better resistance to deformation under load. Makes the Ultracomp 200 FR material really one of our better materials that we offer for all applications. Some of the other materials that we also sell out of the Ultracomp line are UC 300, our 300A, and we have a number of other materials that are also applicable to the rail industry. But the UC 200 product is the primary material that we're currently supplying, and that goes to freight applications and passenger. Some of the applications are fairly unique. We started out in the industry really working with undercarriage devices, things like couplers, brake systems, compressors, things that are under the carriage of a train. So they're exposed to a lot of different environmental problems, the hot temperatures, cold temperatures, the road ballast from the track, just a very dirty environment. But what really sold the industry on our Ultracomp is the fact that it can sit underneath that train, riding back and forth across the country, day in and day out, and sit there and take that vibration, that rattle, all of that impact that's going on every day, and sustain its bearing capabilities and not turn into a extruded pile of mush, which we've seen in other materials that were tried in these same applications. So the Ultracomp is really designed to stand up to the rigors of the railroad industry, and in fact we more than exceeded the requirements of the AAR in terms of mileage requirements on our materials, and we're very proud of that fact. Some of the other applications are a little bit unusual. We use all our UC 300, which is our Teflon material. We're using that for things like transom bearings and slide bearings on passenger doors, the cab windows, things like that for passenger trains. We're also using Ultracomp on brake calipers on the Pikes Peak Railroad, which is kind of a little claim to fame for us. We have been on the Pikes Peak Railroad now for close to 15 years. These are brake caliper bearings We also do the brake bar bearings as well on some of the different types of rail designs. The couplers, we have many different parts that are used on couplers, including spherical bearings, slide pads, pin bearings. We've got hinge bearings for freight doors. We have used the Ultracomp in applications, kind of a goofy one, but it's actually a pedestal block underneath a toilet on board a freight train or on board a transit train. So the Ultracomp can be used in a lot of different applications, not necessarily just a bearing application, but any place where structure is required, where vibration and impact are going to be involved, where the customer needs the support of a strong material. And in the case of the bearing applications on board the trains, the most critical component is the fact that these materials are all self-lubricating. And so it gives the users, whether it's the OEMs or the end users, the ability to have bearing systems on their cars that do not require maintenance or very limited maintenance compared to the materials of use now. So any place that you have an application where it may currently be metal on metal, for instance, there's a lot of steel on steel applications on train cars, especially in the area of the trucks themselves, things like side bolster plates and places where they may have steel on steel pounding and vibrating and rubbing and squeaking. These are places where you can use the Ultracomp as a simple little slide pad, or in some cases a little bit more exotic design, like this particular mushroom design that we did for one of the car builders. So there's a lot of unique things we can do with the product. Now, Ultracomp's not the only product that we sell into the rail industry. We wanted to tell you a little bit about material that we are selling now, primarily in the transit industry, but it's got some wide-reaching applications as well. This is our Trilon material. This is a rather unique material in terms of its wearability, its impact resistance, its low friction. But again, what makes this material so interesting and so important is that it is the first flame retardant approved material for use in stations. And many of our applications are now being used in ingress and egress applications for the stations themselves on the transit systems. These would be in subway stations in particular. So these are applications where, as the train comes into the station, leaves the station, these are wear blocks or wear rails that are used on the sidewalls to prevent the cars from having any kind of impact with solid concrete. The material actually replaces wood, which had been used since the earliest days of the subway. And so now we have a material that, again, meets all of the flame resistance applications and requirements of the transit systems, but it can take that impact and it does not degrade like wood does over time. Another thing that we've been able to do with this product is that we have been able to make it into some unique flooring materials that are required by the American Disabilities Act. So you'll see the tactile tiles that are used to help warn, protect, in particular, blind people or people in wheelchairs, that they're getting close to the edge and to prevent them from having an accident. And so if you have some applications where, again, fire retardant is a requirement or fire resistance is a requirement, you need good wear properties, you need good friction properties, or you just need visibility and, again, that tactile capability that we offer with our ADA products. Think about the Trilon material, and we've got a very diverse manufacturing technique for this. We can make it in any kinds of shapes that you want, solid blocks, J-hooks. There's all kinds of different things that we can do to make these rail systems, these impact systems, more viable for your particular application. So those are the two main materials. We also sell a lot of our FCJ product for applications. We have some of our Rulon materials being used for extremely low friction applications on rail cars, in particular, and couplers. So there's just a broad diversity of applications where you can use the Ultracomp and several of our other materials. I would recommend that you take a look at what we can offer. We do have a white paper on railway applications. Please take the time to read through that and look at some of our blogs on rail car applications as well. Might give you some ideas as to where you can apply these materials, not necessarily just for rail cars, but for any kind of transportation or agricultural equipment where there's a concern about the possibility of fire and the resulting smoke and toxicity that can come from fire with polymers. These are unique products, and we're very pleased to offer these not just to the railway industry, but to many other industries as well. We hope you've enjoyed this. It's a little look at a particular industry and the applications, and please feel free to contact us if you have any questions or an application that you might be considering. But check out our website again, and in particular, check out the railroad white paper, and you'll see some more specifics about the types of things that we can offer. Thanks very much. We appreciate you joining us today, and we'll see you on another Tech Talk.